So, update on the illegal trucker. The illegal immigrant trucker accused of killing 3 people failed his English and road sign test, according to the Department of Transportation. Harjinder Singh answered just 2 of 12 verbal questions correctly and identified only 1 traffic sign correctly.
Wow.
The illegal immigrant truck driver who was accused of causing a crash in Fort Pierce, Florida that killed 3 people and failed the English and road sign test, as officials are investigating the wreck, said that Harjinder Singh, who crossed into the United States illegally in 2018, we already read all that. So during an interview with the driver, investigators administered an English language proficiency ELP assessment in accordance with the FMCSA guidance. The Department of Transportation said in a statement, the driver failed the assessment, providing correct responses to 2 of 12 verbal questions and only accurately identifying 1 of 4 traffic signs. Are they saying that they conducted this investigation following the accident?
Mm-hmm.
During the Federal Motor Safety Administration's interview with the driver, investigators administered... Wow. That's... wow. The thought that so we have another story that is in relation to this. So he actually didn't get his CDL from California first. He first got it from Washington. So this man went from Washington to California all the way to Florida. That's terrifying. This man's been on the road. This man drove across the entire United States, not being able to identify traffic signs or speak English.
God damn, they might as well give me a license.
That's just terrible. That's terrible.
You know what's funny too is when I went to, and this was obviously 2009, so it was a different world. Well, not a different world, but people were less. They actually tried to follow the rules, and now it's total chaos ever since Donald Trump got elected the first time. Not because of him, because of the crazy left. But I couldn't. They made me read the bottom line for the psych test, and I got all of them right except 1, and that wasn't good enough for them for me to get my driver's permit. So since then, I just said, fuck it, I'm not going to get my driver's permit then. But these people apparently can just not know anything about the rules of the road and just be allowed to drive, and I'm just sitting here like...
Well, I've always found it funny because in California, what's called the reason that this guy failed that much, you know what it is he probably went to the DMV, and depending on where you go, like where I live, you get infinite retries. Like literally, when you go and take your driver's test, it's on the computer, and not only do you get infinite retries, Joey. Let's say you get to a question and you're like, "Oh fuck, I don't know this question." You get 3 skip buttons.
What is this lowering the standards that we're in society? I should just talk about this on my show today. I should just talk about the... See, I've been thinking about it, and you see the title of my show is Brainstorming Ideas, because who does the news better than Tyler? What's the point of me doing the news when he does it well already? Like, I'm just like, why are we lowering our standards? Is this some sort of... we need more people in the workforce because the amount of competent people are lessening, so we need to like lower standards? Or is it like they're trying to actively destroy our country? I think it's the latter, obviously, but
what I think it is it's not that they're trying to destroy the country. I think that they're just trying to make it easier to win elections. Because think about it, Joey, if illegals can get IDs, it makes it a lot easier for them to vote.
Yeah.
Because all you need in California is a valid driver's license to vote. So if I can get a valid driver's license as an illegal, guess who can vote? And then you can say that it's not happening, but it is. And it's like...
Lessening is for quota to be less racist, higher percent of X people in your workforce. Yeah. I love how society has become... It's the way... I'm fascinated by the way...
Up.
I'm fat. Stonks go up. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the way patterns emerge. Like it's apparently the worst thing in the world ever to be racist or slightly racist or have statistics appear to be racist, even though they're not racist. You know, we've all as groups of people have different start points. You know, the Irish came over here after the potato famine. The Chinese came over here to build the railroads. Like, starting points are different, so we're all not going to have the same freaking statistics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like the left sees that and they're just like, well, we need to make everything equal and balanced. And it's like, what is this? Like, are we adjusting settings in a video game or are we living life?
No, it's settings in a video game, Joe. Yeah,
that's what it sounds like to me. It's like, you know what when they started pissing me off about video games. So the idea that you can update a video game after release as a patch it's a great thing to have, just in case there's an oversight and the game's broken. But now they don't even bother testing games.
Yeah,
and
now you get the opposite issue. Before that, you'd have games released and then they'd get released and then you couldn't fix the problem. But now they just released an unfinished product and you test it for them.
And what they do is when something is, quote, getting abused or people are too good at a certain thing, what do? They nerf. And they what's the term? They buff. They nerf and buff.
They nerf,
to balance things.
Nerf, buff,
I hate that.
Patch. Yeah, I mean, we're getting a little bit off on a tangent here, but one of the most annoying things ever that video game removed is Rockstar. I'm a big fan of Grand Theft Auto. Played way too much of it. They have the cargo bob in the game, which is the helicopter. It's the freight helicopter that can have the back open up. It's got the two propellers on top. And you used to be able to walk into the back of it. You could basically break the latch on the back door and get the ramp to fall open, and then you could drive cars and walk in it and all this really cool stuff. They patched it and created an invisible wall where that entrance would have been for no reason. Literally no reason. People would break open the latch, and then they patched it for no. It wasn't breaking anything. It wasn't breaking the game.
I hate that. But I bring that up, and I don't think it's a tangent because it's kind of relating to how the left operates with lowering standards and shit. It's just like we need a balance. We need to balance the algorithm of the game because it's not fair for some people. And it's like, dude, that's life, man. Some people, everything goes through cycles. Like the Irish, the Italians, they all struggled when they came to this country, and then they fucking kept working. And maybe if we take off some of these regulations, it would be much easier for people to lift themselves up out of nothing.
Maybe.
Just a thought.
That's what I've been saying for a while. But let's read here because this talks more about how he actually acquired his CDL. So it says here the Department of Transportation indicated that the investigation began on August 14th, 2 days after the crash. So yes, that proficiency test was administered within the last week. So Singh has been charged with 3 counts of vehicular homicide. He was arrested in Stockton, California. So they actually let him go back to California. That's interesting. According to the Department of Transportation, Singh was issued a regular full-term commercial driver's license in the state of Washington in July 2023, but illegal immigrants are not allowed to obtain this type of license in Washington. So whoever issued that, like Sinoski was saying, they need to be investigated if that's the case. A year later, Singh was issued a limited-term non-domiciled commercial driver's license in California. However, the Department of Transportation is investigating further whether the issuance of that license followed federal regulations. It probably didn't follow federal regulations, but it probably followed state regulations. Like I was arguing with Sinoski last night. Yes, it's illegal at the federal level. I fully understand that it federally is illegal. The federal government should stop states doing this, but they're not. States are issuing these licenses. They're letting people come in, get these licenses. Look, this guy literally couldn't pass proficiency tests. They're just passing him. They're passing him through. They're just pushing him through. States like California are doing that, and the answer isn't to go after the people in the DMV that are rubber stamping this because they're following their state law when they do that. The answer isn't to do that. The answer is to make all of the California licenses invalid in your state. That's what I've been advocating for. Stop saying to go after the DMV people that are following California state law. Just make California licenses invalid in your state. That way, if this guy ever goes back to Florida, the moment you see those California plates, he gets pulled over. And if he doesn't have a valid, license to drive in Florida, he can't drive. Because California doesn't give a crap. Yeah, and, for all this talk about following federal law, what about all the states that completely ignore federal law on all the other things, like the easiest one being marijuana? marijuana isn't followed by like any state at this point, but it's still federally illegal. It's a Schedule 1 substance up there with heroin and crack cocaine, but I can go down to the corner store and buy it right now. So like, do we need to be prosecuting people for that because it's federally illegal, or are they going to continue to follow the state law?
You know, it's all about it's the laws only get enforced based off the culture.
Well, I mean, what I said in your chat last night is
which I ignored because I didn't want to feed into it. But
I know. Well, the only point I wanted to make here on the show today was, crap, I lost it. Yeah, what I was going to say is, fuck, I just had
federally.
Okay, I remember now. If my options are to break federal law or to break state law, I'm going to break federal law because I live in this state, and the state has more power over me than the federal government. The state government can take my house.
Yeah. That, you know what? But that's how, like, I believe that's kind of how, man,
that's
I
how
really
the Civil War broke apart. There was a lot of people in the Civil War that didn't want to fight on the side of the Confederates, but they looked at who they were going to go against, and they're like, do I become a traitor to my homeland and go fight for the other side, or do I join my neighbors?
This is why you always got to look at like the conditions that somebody's in when something happens. Whenever someone wants to brand somebody as like a bad person, or like the Confederate statues. Why are the Confederate statues up in those states? Because it's like each state is supposed to look at themselves as their own small nation, basically. And it's like, well, this guy, he fought for us. He wasn't going to go join the opposite side and fight against us. Like, that's asinine. You know what I mean? Of course, like, you can't just like, man, that whole, I do the same thing with the Russia-Ukraine stuff. Like, you really need to try to get inside the mind of the people that we're being told are bad people and see how they got to that point.
Yeah.
You know, everyone just thinks like when they read a book or watch a movie, they'd be like, I wouldn't do that. I would join the right side. And I just, you know, I see how people act nowadays. And most people can't even distinguish what the right side is present day, yet they're going to be able to do it in much tougher circumstances. I don't think so.
That's why, like, if I'm sitting in that's why I don't like what Snosky's been saying about the DMV stuff. If I'm a DMV employee and I'm just sitting there at my desk and some guy comes to me, he gives me all the paperwork, and I'm sitting there and putting it on my computer. Everything fits into the fucking computer, but then I know in the back of my mind, hey, is this guy an illegal? Is this guy an illegal? I should ask him if he's an illegal. No, that's not going through my fucking mind because I'm doing my job, and if I sit here and start asking this guy questions, I'm going to get in trouble, and I could get hit with a lawsuit for discrimination and shit because that's the state law. I'm going to follow the state law. The federal law might be, oh, this guy's an illegal, don't give him identifying, paperwork. Well, tough shit. California's made it legal.
Now, what do you guys think in the chat? What do you identify as? Should the state have more power over the federal? I believe most people agree with that, right? That the state should have more power over the federal. So when it comes to a situation like this, though, where it's just like, well, the federal government should do something. Now, this is where you get into those lines crossing scenario. Do you want the federal government to intercede state law, or do you not want them to intercede state law? Because essentially a lot of people will be like, I'm small government, I'm pro states government, I'm pro states rights, I'm not pro federal government overreach. So in a situation like this, it would be, now you're pro federal government overreach because it makes sense, obviously. But then, going back to like other things where they, move an inch. What else? You find things that you can now start using federal government power for. It's really tough question for me, honestly.
Yeah,
I think about this all the time, as you know. I go back and forth on this about. I feel like Donald Trump should just use the power of the federal government to take out these people because,
but then
to me, they're all breaking. Yeah, exactly. To me, like the mayor of Boston, whatever her name is. She's completely like she was elected by a citizenry of her state or city, and now she's going to literally only advocate for people who don't belong in this country. To me, that's federal. To me, that's like a form of sedition or treason, and I think the federal government should go in there and arrest her.
Well,
then you're going to start to get this retaliation where they're going to, if the left gets power in 2028. they're going to do the same thing to mayors in right-wing cities, and then that's probably what's going to cause a civil conflict.
And then I got to address what Concrete Hades said in the chat. He said, that's cowardice, Tyler, obeying laws over morals. There's no morals that come into question here, Hades. The question is, do I follow federal law or do I follow the state law? And if you're asking that question in your mind, the first thing that's going to go through your mind is, who's going to affect me more? Is my local state going to affect me more, or is the federal government going to affect me more? Now, depending on what you're doing, it'll likely be the state. Your state will always affect you more. Where you live affects you more. Your local government has more effect on you than your state government. Your state has more effect on you than your federal government. Because your local government can screw you in some in ways that your state government can't even.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It comes in degrees, and people say it all the time. What's the most important thing people say to focus on in politics, Joey? Your local politics. Because that's where your power is. That's where the power is.
I'll tell you what, when you talk about Carl J's situation, who was on both of our shows a couple of weeks ago, Biden administration wasn't trying to take his house. The local government was trying to take his house.
Right.
Is trying.